All right, family. Sorry for the technical problems. Having some internet issues where I'm at. Got DJ Hilson here. DJ, sorry about that. It's not on your end. It's on my end.
Well, I got a little nervous when the countdown went to 0, and then all I saw was a kind of an older picture of me standing by the microphone, and I figured you'd figure it out.
We had this issue yesterday, so I'm actually at our Orlando location, which generally when I do live stuff, I'm there in Michigan, but I don't know what's going on. So this is my first stream today, so hopefully I won't have any more problems. How you doing today, my friend?
Well, it's been a long day today. I'll be honest with you. A lot going on, and a lot of things. It's really kind of surprising in the sense that during this pandemic, certain things slowed down, and we kind of slowed our roll a little bit in the office, but every day was just another day working, and now that we've kind of picked up a little bit, it really has increased. And with Zoom, I think part of the issue is that with Zoom, I can attend, where I could only attend maybe 1 or 2 meetings because I've been travel between them. Now I can attend 5 to 6 meetings and just sit in my chair for 8 hours, and that has certainly contributed to it. So yeah, I mean, they've been long days, but that's okay. That's why I work out every day to have that stamina to make it for 8 to 9 to 10 hours a day.
And not going to sleep, and that's why I have my Snapple, my energy drink, and I get you on that. So you gotta have that. You gotta have that.
Absolutely.
My audio good, DJ? Can you hear me good?
I can hear you great, Paul.
Okay, good. So of course, a lot of questions today. People gonna be chiming in. You on the third day, fourth day since the incident that happened with Keith Guy by William Ripple. If you want to lose some fans, tell them you haven't watched the video yet.
No, listen, and certainly I appreciate. No, I know you and I talked on the phone yesterday, and I know the incident happened 4 days ago, and as I told you yesterday on the phone, I just received the actual request to review that about an hour after you or before you had called me, and so I spent some time yesterday looking at it. I spent some time today reviewing it, and I'm going to give you an exclusive here, Paul. So hopefully that'll gain some fanship in the sense. But after having extensive conversations with Coach Guy, I talked to him yesterday, and I talked to him extensively today. And after reviewing the complaint and certainly all the physical evidence that I have had at the time, I made the decision along with Coach Guy that I will be issuing charges tomorrow. They'll be issued in the morning. And that's just step one of the process. Coach Guy and I have really formed a strategic plan on this, and I appreciate his willingness to have a conversation with me and to work through this process. And so step one of the process between him and I is issuing charges, and so I'll be doing that tomorrow morning.
Wow, that is exclusive, which we rarely get. Even though we friends, you try to be fair at this thing, but I'm sure you probably just made this decision, and I'm the first media outlet that you're talking to. So that's wow. DJ, what things did you look at and to make that decision?
Well, what I had available to me, which was certainly reviewing the police report that was prepared. I had an opportunity to watch the video that was, I think, I'm not sure what the person's title is, but whoever videos the game for the team to look at, or for the coaches to look at film, and reviewed that short clip. I also looked at or was provided a surveillance video, which isn't as good, as well as the still photographs that I think have appeared on the internet as well. And so, I was able to look at that. And as I indicated, I had 2 conversations with Coach Guy, a man that I really respect and have known for many years. And based off of that, all of that, we decided, we being myself and Coach Guy, decided that as far as this process goes to start it, that I was going to make the decision to issue charges, and that's step one. There's quite a few other things that we have in mind as we move forward through this process, but this was the initial step, and I agreed with his decision.
Wow. I'm sure they make the community feel good. Have you had any contact with Mr. Ripple?
No, I mean, ethically, I really shouldn't have contact with him. And so, no, I don't, I did not have any contact with him at all.
Okay. So ethically, what happens? You just make the charge, and then his attorney reach out to you then.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the official charging document will come through tomorrow morning, and then he'll have an opportunity to turn himself in on that. And I would anticipate hearing from a lawyer probably before the end of the week.
So misdemeanor, felony, what is it?
Well, misdemeanor. I mean, there was nothing that rose to a felony level offense, and so the misdemeanor charge of assault and battery.
All right. Is Mr. Guy? Is he happy? Is Keith happy about this?
Absolutely. Like I said, I've known Keith for quite a few years, and I had extensive conversations with him yesterday and today. And as I told him, I want to be in lockstep with you, and he is in agreement with the course of action that we're taking. So we are working together essentially, which is the way that it should be.
A great question coming online, because I was going to lead to this. Anthony Miller said, please don't forget to make this a learning experience for the students. Is there anything good that could come out of this whole situation? Because it was a bad situation, but is there anything
I
good?
mean, like I said, I mean, this charging decision is only step one. Coach Guy and I had extensive conversations today on a plan that hopefully will bring some awareness as well as some healing. And so I'm looking forward to that pursuit with him. Certainly as things unfold, I'll be happy to talk about it, but I really want to leave that to our discussions right now. But certainly as they unfold, I think people will understand what's going on.
Wow, there you go, DJ. I didn't ask you about it when we was coming in, but it's good you got it out there. I was gonna, he was gonna
listen, Paul. I had no illusions that when I did, and this is obviously my regular time, my regular show. This is nothing special. I had no illusions that that topic wasn't going to be raised, and so I was prepared for you and ready. But obviously, I feel it's the right decision, and I'm hoping that at the end of this entire process that we all come out winners, and that's kind of the philosophy that I'm going to take through this. And again, I appreciate Coach Guy being with me 100%, and that means a lot. And I know he and I have always had a really great relationship.
We're gonna go to some other questions in a few minutes, but have you gotten a lot of calls from community leaders, concerned citizens?
You were the first. Certainly, I had a conversation with one of our local pastors about the incident, not directly as to what I was going to do or not do, but on some other things. But other than that, I think I appreciate, folks trusting that I was going to do my due diligence, that I was going to have the community in mind when making this decision, and more importantly, that I was going to have a direct conversation and be 100% alongside the victim in this case, which is Coach Guy. And to me, that's where that really made the decision easy after he and I had a chance to talk twice.
Right. And I hope you understand that I trust you too. And the reason I call you, and not that I don't trust you, is that I felt like the system had not served Keith Guy along the step of the way. With the silence for like 40 hours from the MHSA, it seemed like he was not getting that respect and that care that this case deserved. And I felt like if he's going to get any fair treatment, then I know DJ got to be the one then. And so that's why I reached out to you, because I trust you, you know what I mean? And I knew you was going to do the right thing, but I felt I had to call, you know what I mean?
Nope. And listen, I appreciate that. I think I've told you before, and I've told Big Rod this before, that typically when you guys are calling me, it's for a reason, and I listen very intently to that because I think over the years we've built a level of friendship where we can have those straightforward conversations, and that means a lot to me. Just like when I have to make some critical decisions, and I often will reach out to local pastors and certainly the NAACP and sit around the table and have a conversation about what I have and the decisions I have to make and listen to their counsel. Because, to me, I don't need to make these decisions in a vacuum. And certainly because of my relationship with the community, to me, that is a strong partnership that means a lot. And it's something that I know that I can reach out to just like the community reaches out to me when they have questions or concerns. I feel that I have the same opportunity, and I've taken advantage of it, and it's worked very well. And so, to me, you calling was just another reason for me to really understand and appreciate how important this was.
Thank you. Wow. All right, Muskegon, you can breathe comfortable now. You can breathe. Accountability is going to happen. People don't have any trust in the MHSAA, DJ. Just not a lot of trust there.
No, and I don't have any direct dealings with them, and certainly as we move forward in this, I've got some thoughts on how this incident can be a springboard to some other things, and so that's part of the process that Coach Guy and I talked about, and I look forward to that opportunity, and I will certainly, I think, try to use my influence in that I guess arena, and just we'll see what happens. From my standpoint, I'm a big believer in communication. I think that when you need to resolve an issue, the more that you can sit down and talk about it on both sides of the equation, on both sides of the issue, the stronger we become. And I'm a huge fan of that, and it's worked very well in my career, and I'm going to continue to do that.
That's good. That's good, DJ. So when a person gets charged, they don't necessarily mean they're gonna have to show up at the courthouse in handcuffs, right? How does that work nowadays?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, there's a variety of ways that it works. I mean, obviously, if police show up on a scene and they arrest somebody, they're going to show up in handcuffs. A lot of times, especially during this time, this pandemic, folks have been able to walk in and take care of it, and that's ultimately, I think, what's going to happen here. The jail, the sheriff has done a really good job of managing the jail population to make sure that one, we're only putting those or keeping those in that need to be in, and managing the total population so that he can create a quarantine, levels of quarantine, so that when people come in, they go through certain levels of quarantine, so we know we're not bringing the virus into the facility. And he has been extremely successful in maintaining that and keeping COVID-19 out of our jail.
Right, right. I want to, and I don't know if you know the guy who did the video that was evidence, the primary evidence for this case.
I don't.
I think his name Mike Mikoff, but I just want to praise that young man, DJ, because that was a very courageous step. Because I am sure that he is facing some heat for releasing the video and not destroying it, because he didn't have to release it. It wasn't school property; it's his.
Yeah, I mean, certainly in this day and age in technology, and this is true for cell phones. I mean, we've all seen, maybe been even a part of scenes here in Muskegon County where folks will whip out their cell phones and start videotaping stuff. Obviously, for us in law enforcement and for me in the prosecution business, that could become very critical and crucial pieces of evidence. Not that it's required that we have audio or video of circumstances, and it's relatively rare when we do. But when we do, or when we're able to have that, I mean, that really helps, not only in the investigation side of things, because information is power when it comes to investigations, but in the prosecution side of things, so that we can actually see and discern what the truth really is. Because ultimately, for me, it's finding the truth, whether it's good or bad for me, in a sense. So, Video evidence is critical, and certainly I applaud anybody who recognizes that they have a piece of evidence that could be valuable, and they don't hide it, they don't destroy it, but they make it available to those that need it. And I can think of the other instance that I recall, and you'll recall this too, Paul, is several years ago we had that unfortunate incident on Mason,
Yeah.
and that whole scene was captured on a cell phone video, and that really helped us in determining what happened, the sequence of events, and where we could make charging decisions and where we couldn't. And without that video, that'd have been a very difficult process. And so there again, it shows that is why that's important, and why folks shouldn't try to hide that stuff. Again, whether it's good or bad, that's pieces of information that we need.
Right. I guess Big Rob done landed back in Muskegon, and he wanted to say that's why we love you. You said plenty of times you were going to be fair and charge whoever did something, and this shows your commitment to that. I salute you, DJ.
Well, I appreciate that. That means a lot coming from him. Like I said, I mean, I value this entire community, and I appreciate the trust that this community has given me in these last 8 years, and this term that I'm serving now, to serve as their elected prosecutor. I take that very seriously. I take that to heart, and I'm just blessed with a great team of individuals who really provide good counsel, provide good insight, and really help me process these types of cases. And I don't do this alone. I never could. And I appreciate the team.
Wow. I guess we had a question that came in earlier about expungement. I want to talk about that, and
Sure.
we might come back to
Sure.
this question. But John Coffey said, "How is the Muskegon Prosecutor Office handling the new expungement process?"
Great question. It's funny. I received a nice information packet from the public defender, Fred Johnson, who he and I have a great working relationship. And I intend on working very closely with the public defender's office and making sure that we're able to take advantage of the new laws. I mean, I think we've talked about before in the show. I was a big fan of the change. I thought that the old expungement laws were archaic, that they didn't provide enough relief. And quite frankly, Fred Johnson and I have worked on several cases where I have kind of subverted those laws in order to make somebody whole, essentially, because they had served their time and in essence done their punishment. And so was certainly pleased with how the legislators finally listened and are now making this process a little bit easier. But my intent is certainly to follow the law, but to work very closely with Fred Johnson or any defense lawyer, really, that works to expunge records under this new process.
So the new process is supposed to be streamlined, right?
Yes. Yeah, it certainly opens the door to more possibility, more crimes being expungible, and it also is working towards a process where those things will be automatically removed. There's a lot of logistics as it relates to that. I mean, the computer system, the computer system that's required at the state level in order to make that happen and communicate, all those logistics still have to be worked out. But yeah, I mean, it certainly expands the cases that are expungible, and it makes the process a little bit smoother. And so I appreciate that, because in my entire career, in the 21 plus years that I've been doing this, I've had the opportunity to meet so many great people, and a lot of those folks carry with them mistakes they made in their past, and they shouldn't have to carry an anchor around them for the rest of their lives as a result of a mistake they made in the past. And I thankfully I've been able to help some, but this is going to be able to let us help more than that. And so I really applaud those efforts.
Miss Portia Kidd said DJ is good people, fair, and has a heart. Yes, he does. I agree with that, man. Yeah, fresher breath air. That's why I hope you stick around at least another 10 years, 12 years. You look like you're ready to retire with the beard you're growing, the mustache.
See, yeah, I tell you, this is why I don't grow a beard. I mean, we had a United Way board meeting this morning, and I made the same statement that when I grow a beard, the grays come out, and I age about 10 years.
Right.
And I like my youthful appearance, and so by the end of the month, this bad boy will be gone, and I'll be back to clean shaven again. But yeah, no, the grays are always a shocker.
Right. John Coffey say, does the new law cover diverted sentences such as 411 treat? I don't know what that is, but maybe
Yeah, I think what he's yeah, I think what he's asking is if you're I'm gonna guess here, and he can chime in if I'm guessing wrong. But whether or not the new laws cover if you were so, for example, if you were treated under, I think what he's saying is 7411. So, for example, if your conviction was suppressed up front, a possession charge was suppressed up front because you received treatment under Section 7411 of the statute, which essentially suppresses the conviction and allows you even afterwards to say that you're not convicted because the conviction is suppressed, whether or not he says yes. Okay, so I guess right. Whether or not that conviction could become expungible. I'll be very honest. I'd have to read the language carefully to see whether or not that's true or not. I got to believe that there are provisions in there in regards to that. But off the top of my head, I don't know the answer, but I'm certainly willing to find out. I got to believe that is covered though in the statute for sure. I mean, legally, those convictions are already quote unquote expunged in the sense that you don't have to report them and that they're not accessible to any public access. The only individuals that have access to those would be law enforcement.
All right. So, DJ, and I'm sure you don't answer this question with Big Rob, but if people have went to jail or prison for marijuana cases, are them cases now getting expunged?
I know there was, as part of this, there was, at least in the early stages, the early conversations, there was some legislation in specifically revolving around marijuana convictions. And again, it's been a minute since I've read all that, and I don't know if that is specifically in the language. I would imagine those convictions are probably encompassed in some of the misdemeanors and low-level felonies that can be expunged. In fact, I would be shocked if it wasn't there. Again, I'd have to look at it
All right,
more
John
carefully.
Coffey, he's been reading his stuff. He knows his stuff. It said it's not in the new statute. It will fall under the social equity.
If is that is not or if not in the new statute,
It's
it
not
should
in the
fall under
new
social.
statute. It would fall.
Yeah,
under.
look, I mean, I think that certainly with the change in the law, certainly under the changes in the law of late, that there's a great argument for that. And again, as I committed way back when, this is back in 2018 when the law first passed, and I came out with a statement in regards to how we were going to handle our current pending cases and how I would handle past convictions. If memory serves me correct, I indicated at the time that I would review, if people came to me, I would review a past conviction and then determine what we could do with it. So again, I'd have to really take a close look at the expungement laws to see, but it would shock me if, for example, possession of marijuana is not part of the list of crimes that are expungible under the misdemeanor statute. That would shock me.
All right, coming from Teresa K. Sanford Pittman said, Prosecuot, he is. We've been blessed to have a prosecutor in this area who's fair. Amen. Amen.
That's you all are very too kind. You are too kind, and I appreciate that very much. Again, my commitment to this county and this community should never be in question. And I love the opportunities that I've been blessed with, and certainly, I look forward to the days when we don't have to worry about social distancing and wearing masks and not being able to congregate and getting back to making this a strong community again.
Exactly. John Coffey said, simple weed possession has a lot of minorities held back. I agree.
Yes,
Um,
I listen. I'm Mr. Coffee. I mean, I echo what you're saying, and that's why I'm pretty convinced. In fact, I've got the packet sitting on my desk here. If I didn't disrupt what we got going on here, I'd read it. But I'll take a look at it. And I see you want anytime you want to come in and have a conversation, Mr. Coffee. I welcome it.
and I send you his real name because I don't want to say his real name right now. But I know him personally, good guy. Don't work. We rely on him for a lot of stuff at the station. He's been with us for a while. Him and his wife do good stuff in the community. So
Good deal.
uh, definitely worthy of sitting down and talking to him. He says, "So, what are we waiting on, DJ,
For what?
for the meeting or for the
Oh,
for the?"
listen. I
Oh,
mean, you want to have a conversation. I guess reach out to me via email, or we can certainly set it up through PA. I'm happy to sit down.
that's good. That's good. Um, Anything new that you want to talk about, DJ, before we get into? I want to get your opinion on this gun control because two mass murders in less than a week. We
Yeah, I
haven't even
mean,
opened up yet.
yeah, and we can certainly talk about that. I mean, certainly from what's new. I think trying to remember since the last time I was on, if I mentioned this or not. Maybe I did, but we were able just recently was able to have or receive some additional grant dollars for our Justice for Women task force. And it's going to allow me to add an additional prosecutor to that task force, and the the two police departments that participate with us also received additional funding, and they're adding two detectives. So we'll have four detectives and two prosecutors working on this. And so I'm really, really excited about what this means for victims of violence, in particular, female victims of violence, and what we're able, the services, the extra services we're going to be able to provide, not only in the investigation stage but also the prosecution stage. And so we were recognized by the grantors as obviously still needing some additional resources, but they were really pleased with what we'd done up to this point. So my hats off to that team for all the work they've done up to this point. I'm really, really excited about what this means for us, not only as an office but as a community.
Right. Where are we at when it comes down to domestic violence?
Well, look, I mean, it's still an issue. It's a pervasive issue. I mean, it's not unlike dealing with drugs and whatnot in our community. And certainly what we have been the partnerships that we've established first and foremost with Every Woman's Place that is able to provide shelter and counseling to typically women of domestic violence, to, like I said, this task force, and being able to really provide, I guess, that sense of worth and security that a lot of times our victims don't feel. And as we talk about the system and the criminal justice system and what it does and what it has to offer, certainly through efforts of this office and being able to provide some extra support, our hope is that the women who are victimized in our community will feel that support, will feel that encouragement, which will lead to them, being able to safely and securely participate in the process. And that'll go a long way to providing them that sense of security, that sense of worth, that sense of being able to break free from whether it be verbal or physical violence, and feel safe about it. And so, unfortunately, we deal with domestic violence cases every day. Our numbers remain consistent throughout the year, anywhere from 800 to 900 cases a year. And so our hope is that we're going to be able to, I don't know, it'd be nice to reduce those numbers, and maybe we'll be able to succeed at that. But I really hope that what we're able to do is make sure that the victim of a domestic violence case does not become victimized ever again. And that's the goal, and that's kind of our mission, is that we are able to remove that part of that person's life from them.
What have you seen seen in regards to criminal sexual conduct?
Well, there again, I mean, I don't know that our numbers are, through the charts, but we're still dealing with that in particular as it relates to kids. There's nothing more heartbreaking and devastating than listening to a young person talk about things that they shouldn't talk about, having things done to them that they shouldn't even know about. That is, having dealt with that throughout my entire career, that there's probably nothing more gut wrenching and heart wrenching than having those conversations. So yeah, I mean, we're still dealing with that. This particular task force also is able to tackle some of those cases, and again, provide necessary service to what I'll call survivors of that. And that to me is again a win for Muskegon County. And we're in the process of developing a program that would essentially provide a SANE nurse, which is a specially trained sexual assault nurse, who usually does the forensic examinations when victims come in. We're working on now something that will allow that to be, having a nurse available 24/7, and hopefully providing an area, a nice, safe, outside the hospital area for these women to go to. So that's a work in the process right now. That I'd say my senior level task force prosecutor has been working on that. We've already got nurses in training, so they've been identified. They're starting to train. They have to go through some clinical stuff, and we're in the process of now developing what that looks like and where they go. So it's pretty exciting stuff, something that's never happened in Muskegon County.
That's good. That's real good.
And so we're, again, keeping with our mission that we're going to be victim-centered, that it really is about the victim/survivor, and what we can do in order to start alleviating at least the trauma of going through the system process. The trauma of what happened will take time to heal, but we can't add the trauma of the system on top of that without providing some sort of service and support for that. And this task force and the people surrounding it is what that does.
Do you support the idea of having social workers with police officers when they respond to calls?
We're already kind of doing that in some respects, Paul, in the sense that, Muskegon County has been leading the charge a little bit, and I credit Health West for that. Heather Wiegand, who has been the forefront of this, has been working on a system that gives officers a couple of things. One, she was a big part of helping train most of our line officers and command officers in CIT, or mental health training, so that officers can, not in a clinical sense, but on a need to know sense, determine whether or not somebody is truly a threat, or are they suffering from is there a mental disturbance happening at the time, or a mental health crisis happening at the time. And so a lot of our officers have been trained in that line of work. But they also have developed and are trying to continue this mobile crisis team. So officers also have the ability to call a 24-hour hotline, if you will, that assembles a mobile crisis team if in fact officers determine that the individual or individuals that they're being called upon are suffering a mental health crisis, and letting the mental health professionals deal with the de-escalation of the situation so that law enforcement doesn't have to.
Okay.
And so, in some respects, although, the social workers aren't riding in the car with them, they are at law enforcement's disposal. And so, again, it's just another example of Muskegon County not trying to react, but be proactive in these measures. And so, there's still some work that has to be done, and they're still developing it, but all the critical pieces are in place. And now it's just a matter of making sure that everybody's aware of it and being able to implement it. But it's been used. It's been used.
So I was going to ask you that, are they utilizing it?
Yeah, it's been used. For sure, it's been used. And so, again, we're at a point now where, one of the things, that I think certainly back in the day when you decided to go to the police academy, become a police officer, you never realized that you would have to deal with things like folks who are dealing with mental health crisis, because they don't necessarily train you. In fact, I know they don't train you for that. In those situations and other situations that we ask our first responders to deal with. And so it's really critical upon not only the state, but our local communities to step up and provide those services. And again, Muskegon County is leading the charge. And I'm really proud to be a part of those conversations. And I'm proud to see that our law enforcement community has embraced that
That's great.
and is using it.
Wow. DJ, are police officers trained to kill or are they trained to stop?
Well, I've never gone through training, I guess. I mean, I do. I mean, I do go and I qualify with the sheriff's department every year and go through their qualifications. And certainly, you know, it's the silhouette targets that are used, and obviously, what they're looking for is that in order to qualify, you have to stay within the lines, so to speak. And I'm assuming that they're trained. If they're going to draw their weapon, they're going to fire it. It's going to be, you know, center mass, especially if it's a life or death situation. I know in some instances, I've been a part of conversations where community members have asked, you know, why don't you shoot them in the leg? Why don't you shoot them in the arm? And they're not trained to do that. They're trained to eliminate the threat. And certainly we can have conversations on what threat means, but you know, certainly from a police officer's perspective, if they have a feeling that their life is in danger, they are essentially authorized to use deadly force, just like any other citizen is authorized to use deadly force if their life is in danger of threat of injury or death. So, but again, I've never been through a formal training. I can just tell you from my experience going through the qualification process that's kind of what they're looking for and what you have to do in order to qualify.
Conversations in D.C. when they passed this criminal justice reform bill or police reform bill, I think they titled George Floyd bill. They talked about police immunity, automatic immunity.
Mhm.
What is that? What did that mean?
So what they're talking about is qualified immunity.
Qualified. Yes.
Qualified immunity.
Yes.
And ultimately there is some protections for law enforcement if they're exercising their duties as a law enforcement official, where they become qualified immune to civil litigation. And I know that is something that is being talked about certainly at a national as well as a state level as to whether or not there needs to be more limits on that qualified immunity. Certainly, if an officer acts outside of their law enforcement capacity or does something intentional, they don't have that qualified immunity. But in a lot of these officer-involved shootings, that has always come into play under the auspice or under the understanding that the actions of the police officer were being done in the realm of their duties as a law enforcement officer. So I know in my conversations at the state level, as we talk about what reforms are going to be recommended and ultimately what conversations are going to turn into law, that is certainly one of the topics that is being talked about.
Okay. John Coffey has a question. Are we training officers in new de-escalation training?
Well, again, from what I've been told and what I guess I know, certainly de-escalation, I believe, is part of an officer's training, whether it be at the academy or otherwise. I mean, do I believe that officers need to have a kind of a yearly update on that? Absolutely. Again, it's really hard to, in some respects, armchair quarterback some of this stuff. But in my career, having had to review instances and talk about what was going on and what should have been done differently, there've been a handful of investigations or incidents where had some different language been used or maybe some different mannerisms, perhaps the level doesn't rise to where all of a sudden we went from relatively mild and calm to 110 miles per hour. Are there mechanisms that are out there that would allow it to stay at that even and calm, even though you might be dealing with somebody who's under the influence of drugs or alcohol, or you might be dealing with somebody who automatically decides to take a hostile position. And I've seen it the other way. I've seen officers who have been in a very hot, tight situation and been able to keep it at a level and talk it down, and not let comments and things make you as an individual rise up the temperature. So I've seen it both ways, and so I know that there are officers out there who have been trained and who are using those de-escalation techniques in order to keep the conversation to one that is manageable.
Wow. This expungement, does it deal with resisting arrest? Because we've seen a lot of those cases in the past, and some of them probably wasn't like severe cases, like refuse to get out.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna grab this and just see if I can find what I'm looking for. I like I said in the beginning, I know for a fact that the new legislation has expanded the number of crimes that are available for set-asides. Obviously, I'm looking at the exemptions here. I mean, obviously, things like anything that has a maximum possible penalty of life is not expungible, and certain other violations. But I'm just kind of quickly looking forward through this, and I don't see where there's an where R&O would be exempted from that. So at least in the first piece that I've looked at, that certainly is a crime that might be ripe for expungement. Again, those, at its basic level, an R&O is a 2-year felony. So it's what we would consider to be a low level felony.
Okay. How long do they have to wait? How long? What's the time period from conviction to expungement?
If memory serves me correct, let's see if I can find that. I thought it was for misdemeanors. I thought it was 5 or 7 years.
Okay.
And felonies, it would be a little bit longer. I don't have that at the tip of my. But
I better quit drilling it to you because I know you got to look at it and stuff keep changing. So, hey,
listen,
in a couple weeks, next month, we make next month.
I know that was going to be my homework assignment coming into this show tonight. I would have probably done a little bit more reading. So I apologize to the listeners out there for not being up to speed.
And we've been getting some phone calls at the station, but if you're listening to us on radio, you need to go to our Facebook page to ask the question right now. We kind of got people, everybody's, like social distancing. We all spread out right now for the time period. So please, if you have a question, go to our Facebook page, 1037 to be Facebook page, and ask that question. We got.
Hey, Paul, can I just run to the maintenance folks are vacuuming, and they're going to be coming down the hall here real quick, and I'm not going to be able to hear you, or you're not going to be able to hear me. I'm just going to run and quick close my door. I know we're live.
Sure,
but
I can take a break. Quick break. All right, that probably wasn't the best commercial for our radio listeners, but
yeah, they're like, what is that?
Right. It was a PSA about fatherhood, being in your kid's life, just being present, being there. So what you got, DJ? You got something? I thought you would pull up something.
No, I'm sorry. No, I had to go close my door because they were getting ready to vacuum my part of the hallway, and everybody would have heard a vacuum going.
All right. Thanks, Kay. Here's a question you can ask, and I still don't think you can answer. I still don't think people get is that that you can have a rifle if you've mentioned this before that ex-felons can have a rifle, right? They done with their crime,
Well,
did their time.
no, no. I mean, my understanding of the felon in possession law is that felons cannot possess firearms, and that includes any firearm, whether it be rifle, shotgun, pistol. And I know that to be a fact because I've had folks in the past talk about their inability to hunt. So I don't think there's any exclusions for rifle or for shotgun. It's firearm.
Firearm period.
Yep.
Not even in the house.
Well, yeah. I mean, not even in the house. I mean, certainly we've had situations where in executing search warrants and finding firearms in the house and folks having felony convictions on the record. So yeah, no, not even in the house.
What if they're after they get expunged? Then you're good.
Yeah, certainly. If the underlying conviction that would make you a felon in possession is expunged off your record, you would be certainly eligible at that time, I think, to hunt. Now there are some. Again, the law as to restoration is a little goofy as it relates to specified felonies, and those are felonies that, for example, any felony dealing with a controlled substance, any felony dealing with a firearm, any felony dealing with destruction of person or property, if I'm not mistaken, those required not only being done with your sentence essentially, but also then going to the gun board and restoring your rights. Now, gun boards don't really exist anymore. I mean, that has been done away with. It's the clerk in the Michigan State Police that now handle folks who are applying for concealed weapons permits. But certainly if you were to expunge either one, whether it be a non-specified or specified felony, I think you'd be certainly within your right to apply for a concealed weapons permit. And then it would be up to the state police to make a determination as to whether or not you are eligible.
Okay. John Coffey said, I know people with R and O's for cursing and was prosecuted for it. Have the prosecutor office review tape for any person tried for an R and O?
Well, I mean, as part of a warrant request review, I mean, we review everything that we're provided. Typically, first and foremost, we're provided a police report to review, and certainly if there is cruiser video or now body cam video, we have the ability to access that. And now that more departments are going to body cams, it's one of the things that we would ask for. In particular, if there was a discrepancy as to what was done or what was said. But yeah, I mean, we absolutely, if certainly provided up front by law enforcement, we'll review it, and if we're able to get our hands on it during the review process, we'll review it. That's evidence that can't be altered, can't be changed. The video is what it is. And being able to, as I said very early on in the show, that if we have it, that becomes very critical in making charging decisions, certainly, but also as we prepare for a trial.
That R&O, is that pretty vague? Is that law pretty vague? Like it's pretty easy.
Well, it's broad. It's not vague. I mean, it tells you exactly what you can't do, but it's broad. So it's basically disobeying a lawful command, resist, obstruct, oppose, endanger. Those are the words that are used in the statute and in the jury instruction. So it's very broad in how it can be, I guess, interpreted. That's why, gosh, this would have been early on in my elected career. I worked with at the time, corporate counsel for the county, and we crafted a resisting and obstructing misdemeanor ordinance. because a lot of times in these circumstances, the type of conduct that was happening, in my opinion, didn't rise to felony. Wanted an option that made it a 93-day misdemeanor as opposed to a felony, and we were able to get that through. And I can't remember what year it was. It was 13 or 14. But it's been a county ordinance since that time.
Yvette Brown Price says too broad. A couple more comments before we go. John Coffey said, "Are you, as a prosecutor, really willing to call out officers that abuse that authority?"
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've had conversations with chiefs, and actually, I've had chiefs say, "Hey, look, I want you to take a look at this." I certainly have advised, not officers directly, but certainly have advised the supervisors about whether or not, certain conduct rose to the level that was not, excusable, I guess, for lack of a better way to describe it. Everybody's got to understand that I have no control over how a department disciplines an officer. I only get involved if an officer rises to the level of criminal activity, and then we review it for that. But I don't get to tell the chiefs what to do. I don't get to tell the sheriff what to do.
But you can put them on that list, though, DJ. That bad cop list.
Yeah, look, I mean, I certainly have a legal and ethical responsibility that if officers' conduct rises to the level that makes it now I have to disclose it to defense, absolutely. I'm not going to hide that.
How many cops do you think you have on that list in Muskegon County? Or ex-cops that's on that list?
It hasn't changed since the last time you and I talked about it. I mean, if memory serves me correct, there's about 4 or 5 officers.
And how many of those are still working?
Maybe 2.
Maybe 2.
Yeah.
And the chiefs know how you feel, but they still got them on the force.
Yeah, I mean, I listen. Again, I don't make the hiring and firing decisions. I just, when I'm asked, I provide an opinion.
So when these officers found it, when they charge somebody with something or try to charge somebody with something, you got to let the defense know that these cops' testimony is questionable. Well, you can't trust them.
I have to disclose to defense that there may be material that is what we call a Brady Disclosure. And then ultimately what happens is the court conducts what we call an in-camera hearing, which is where the court receives the evidence and then makes a determination as to whether or not it's relevant. And the court makes an evidentiary ruling as to whether or not it's relevant.
Former sheriff candidate Miranda Sanchez, I hope I don't jack up a last name, Takarzak, said, "What if an officer posted a racist meme?"
Well, again, I think that goes directly to it needs to be brought to the attention of that person's commanding officer and chief. As tragic as that is, it isn't a criminal offense, but it certainly is something that needs to be reported to that person's supervisor.
She also asked, has the prosecutor office checked the policy of body cams at the local police department to ensure that there are incident that a body can be turned on, has to be turned on?
I have not specifically been asked to review policies. Certainly, the technology is such, and I'm hoping that departments are using the technology so that it doesn't require, officers to turn it on and turn it off. But again, I'm not specifically aware of where the technology is at. I know that for dash cam video, so the cameras that are sitting on the dashboards of patrol cars, they when they flash their light, they turn the flashers on, the camera automatically turns on, and they don't have the ability to turn it on and off. But I'm hoping that the technology is such that body cams are not at an officer's discretion to turn on and off. Because again, if it were me, if I were an officer, I'd want that camera on all the time, because it's going to protect me against any potential claims of mistreatment. If it's caught on video, it's caught on video. And so I'm going to want that on. And so that I know that if there's ever a question, we can just review the tape and make a determination from there.
How is your relationship with those chiefs that still has those officers on duty, and when they know that you have some ethical questions about them?
I have a good relationship with all law enforcement here in Muskegon County, and that's true across the board. I mean, certainly there are going to be times when we're going to have a difference of opinion or we're going to disagree on something. We don't always agree, but at the end of the day, I have to certainly respect my role and authority, and respect what their role and authority is. And again, we may agree to disagree, but I think overall the working relationship is really good, and that's been true even before I was the elected prosecutor. So I'm appreciative of that, because a lot of my colleagues across the state don't have the same kind of relationship. They might be fighting with the sheriff. They might be at odds with the chiefs, with some chiefs, and that is never a healthy. That's never a healthy environment.
Right. It's
So
all
I think,
political, though. It's just all
well,
political. Yeah.
yeah, perhaps, but we're at a point where I think law enforcement and the chiefs and the sheriff certainly respect my opinion on things, just like I respect their opinion on things. And again, they get to decide what they're going to do, regardless of whether I like it or I don't like it.
Before we go, for people that's tuning in, the last thing, can you let the audience know what all is happening tomorrow in regards to referee William Ripple?
Yeah. So as I indicated at the opening part of the show, based off of my review of the evidence and certainly my 2 conversations with Coach Guy, we being myself and Coach Guy have formulated a plan as to how we want to move forward with this incident. And that first step of that plan is I'll be issuing charges for assault and battery tomorrow morning against the referee.
Thanks. DJ, I'll let you sign off, sir.
No, listen, I appreciate, again, I appreciate the nice comments and the respect, and I really, that means a lot to me. It means that the hard work that I put in every day to make the right decisions, to really think about this community first, and the citizens that live, work, and play here every day. That means a lot, because those are things that I have to weigh when I have to make decisions like this, and certainly because of the relationships that I've established throughout the years and the relationships that I continue to establish, I am thankful that I am blessed to be in this position, and that moving forward, that we're going to continue to have that strong relationship, because it's what it takes to make us successful, safe. A safe community. We have to have that kind of relationship, and I'm blessed to have that. And again, I appreciate that very much. And for everybody that's listened and to my show for years, and now providing those comments and those questions, I'm grateful, because I can't get anybody to call in.
They was calling today. I got them on my phone. The message was coming to my cell phone, but I didn't figure out a way how to pull them up.
Yeah, no, but as much as I love this format, I still love being in the studio. But certainly this provides an arena, if you will, for people to feel comfortable for asking questions, and that's fine. I'm a guy that I'd like to think that people can look past the title and talk to me at any point in time, because that's who I am. I mean, right. I'm just a regular Joe who loves this community, who's raised a family here, and really enjoys being a part of something special. So don't hesitate.
Well, April, you've been vaccinated, so we can be live back in the studio. You know what I mean? So it's all on your schedule thing.
No, listen, I mean, it sounds good to me. Like I said, it is. I mean, you do a great job, and I feel very special today that you've handled my show, because that's a relatively rare. I do feel like I'm getting closer to that Judge Pittman status. Although, I'm still trying to find some room in his big green room that he has, at the studio that he gets to, hang out in his lounge chairs before his show. I'm looking for a little space to carve out,
Yeah.
but eventually I'll get there.
It's coming. We're getting there. Christine Robert wanted to say, what's up with the beer? I know you got a shout out to United Way about the fundraiser.
Yeah, no, I mean thank you, Christine. She wouldn't be a good executive director without asking that question. There's been quite a few of us. I think 14 or 15 guys who have been growing beards for this month, raising money and awareness for the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. And why is that? And that's so special for us is that every dollar that we raise helps fund this reading possibility. So kids 0 to 5 years old, if they sign up for the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, they get a book a month delivered to their house free. And it's all because of these donations. And so we, as I said, we had our board meeting today, and we're getting close to raising just about, if not over, $20,000. And the great thing about it is that there's a nickels paper match, one-to-one match. And so we're hoping that we're going to get right around $50,000 for this program, which means that more kids are going to be able to get free books every month. And that is really critical. And it's here in Muskegon. I mean, this is happening here in Muskegon County. And that's really critical as we talk about literacy and we talk about early childhood development. And just that, parent-child bonding. I was blessed to be able to do that with all three of my kids as they were growing up, and spending that time reading a book is really cool. And so this is. I mean, it's easy in some respect to grow a beard and solicit money, and I appreciate everybody who's followed me on Facebook and who's donated. I've made over $2,000 personally, and that is. That's awesome. That just shows a community who cares, and I would expect nothing less from Muskegon County.
All right, DJ. Thanks, man. See you in a few weeks.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Take care.